Time for another ramble, ladies and gentlemen, because it's late and I'm cooking chicken. Why am I cooking chicken? Well, we make our own dog food. Why do we make our own dog food? Well, Misty, she had some dogs die of strange circumstances and thought that it might be something that poisoned her dogs from her dog food. She doesn't want imported Chinese dog food for her dogs. She's very picky, so she makes the dogs food, and so I make the dogs food because I am, I joined this family. So I do as the family does, and I think it's a good thing. It doesn't cost any more than normal to make your dog's food versus bag food. It just takes a little bit more time each time you do it. So, as I'm waiting for the chicken to bake, I'm going to film this video. And I'm going to talk about my feelings about the no DAPL protesters and the Dakota Access pipeline. Today, the Army Corps of Engineers said that it had rejected the pipeline going through their lands, and so the protesters rejoiced. It was on the news. They were all cheering, and there were busloads of Marines getting off the buses because they were going to have this big stand on the 5th, but because the 5th was the day that the protesters had been told to disperse by, well, now the pipeline is conveniently not an issue, right? It's been stopped. The decision has been made. Well, what I want to do right now is capture this feeling that I have for those, internet archaeologists of 100 years in the future, so that they know what it looks like for a human being living in this time period. I don't believe it. Because of, billions of dollars of pipeline being laid and then stopping at one little spot, the last little link that they need to finish their pipeline, and this is it? It's over? No. I think that they're going to appeal and appeal and appeal. They'll find some way, right? Plus, there's the fact that our president-elect, Donald Trump, has a vested interest in this pipeline. Like, seriously, it's a huge conflict of interest for the president to have the authority to direct things that might have something to do with a pipeline that he has invested in. It's that's I'm sure that's been explored to death, but what I have to say about my general feeling is I don't believe it. I'm happy for those protesters. They can have their day, they can cheer, but I'm thinking, what would be the best way to handle a protest such as what happened at Standing Rock? And really, if I'm honest, if I'm being a true devil's advocate, I'd say fight another day. Not when there's thousands of veterans, like 200 buses worth of veterans all converging on that area. That's not the time to fight. It's coming up on the freezing season, and how much of your equipment for drilling is going to even work in that season. So rather than fighting them, just let them think they've won, right? To me, it seems like a no-brainer. Just let them think they've won so that they disperse, and they're not going to camp out over the whole winter. Every protest group seems to get broken over the winter, right? So come springtime, people will have forgotten it. There won't be that passion anymore. And they can start something else, like, say, secret drilling that's protected by some sort of I guess, needs of the nation, defense of the nation, top secret classification, whatever, they can just drill a secret pipeline. How could they let all that billions of dollars of pipeline go to waste? They can't. They fucking can't. I mean, are you going to pay for their pipeline? I'm not. Nobody can. They've invested so much. And see, corporations, they have no conscience. It does not matter if you talked to every officer in that in that group of corporations that has to do with this pipeline, right? You could talk to all of those CEOs, and you could get fucking Cindy Lou Who to warm the Grinch's fucking heart on all of those motherfuckers, and still, they're fucking corporations, and they must do what's in their best interest to make a fucking buck. Alright? So, they've got forever to keep on chipping away at this. And I just don't believe that the pipeline is stopped. I think that it's just delayed, and it's convenient that they couldn't have done much drilling, when it freezes anyway. They couldn't have gotten their machinery to work properly through a couple of these months that they're about to face. So why not just use that downtime of sending all their workers home? Why not just use that downtime to pretend like, oh, we've stopped, and then behind closed doors, strike some deal where they get to restart, and the public doesn't get to know because of a national security reason, right? Because these corporations stand to make big bucks. That's the national security reason. So if I were to be an even further devil's advocate here, I would say, let's see, they'd probably wait till most of the protesters disperse and then round up the last few and say, oh, we're just closing this because of inclement weather restrictions and you can't be on this land. And then set up a really wide perimeter. Now, how wide does the perimeter have to be? Well, at least, I'd say 10 to 15 miles outside of where the pipeline is going to have to go through when it does. Because drones have flown over the pipeline to show how its progress stopped right before the river, right? And so they're wary of this, so they've got to keep people pushed back while they're doing this subversive drilling. They have to keep people pushed back so far that even a drone can't fly over to take pictures so that it would alarm everyone, when they find out that the drilling has resumed. They would have to make a no-fly zone over it and say it's for national security reasons too. When you hear that, then they're fucking secretly drilling, because they're going to have their fucking pipeline. That's just it. They have to punch it through somewhere. Where are they going to punch it through? I don't know where it's going to be, but I know what the reason's going to be. National fucking security. Because Trump. And it's going to be for the profit of these corporations that have invested fucking billions. Billions upon billions in this pipeline. So, I know a few of my contemporaries, like Eagle Eye 1975, they've made videos like this and uploaded them, and then sent them to Unlisted, and then, when they are proven right, they let out the video. I'm just going to throw my paranoia out there for the wolves to fucking eat me alive for now, because I think maybe in the future, if I'm proven right, it'll be a little bit more astounding that I was willing to just be public about this shit. Because I feel like I'm stating a feeling that many people already have. You know, people never win. The oil companies always win. They always get their way because they can fight forever. You know, they have unlimited fucking resources to fight. And they're evil. You know, they have tactics that they can use, and one of them I believe right now is telling people that it's all over. There's no reason to keep protesting because you've won. Now go home, run along, you know, pat each other on the back. I don't believe it.